Swayam Prabha. Digital India. Educated India.
Hello all, welcome to the lecture on the sequence data, and in this lecture we are going to look at some of the methods that we can apply on any sequential data, and in this lecture we are going to see some of the built-in methods that we can call on sequential data. So basically Python methods is like a Python function, but it must be called on an object, and Python also has a set of built-in methods that you can use on sequential data. But note that the method is going to return new values, but they are not going to change the original data at all. So we are going to look at few examples on how we can call the methods on the given sequential data. So first I am creating a string called strsample, which has a string to it, that is learning is fun. So let me just print and show you. So the strsample contains the string learning is fun. So let's try to call some of the methods on the string, but note here, so all string method returns new value, they do not change the original string. First one that we are going to look here is method capitalize, and it is going to return the string with the first character capitalized. So let's just try this. So initially it was learning is fun with L lowercase, and now it is learning is fun with the uppercase L. The next one is title, to basically capitalize the first character of each word. So if you have a sequence of values, or if you have a string, if you have a set of strings in your data, and if you want to do some of the operations like this, then you can use all these methods on your string. So for example, now if you want to capitalize the first character of each word, then you can use title method in that case. So it is going to give you it is going to return the values by capitalizing the first character alone. So here all L, I and F are capitalized. And there's a method called swap case, which is going to swap the case of strings. So if it is a lowercase string, then it is going to swap it to make it as uppercase string. So the original string had the learning is fun in all lowercase letters, but it just swapped all the characters to uppercase. And you can also find the index of a given letter. For example, if you want to particularly know the index of a given character, then you can give that inside the find method. So that should be given inside the single quote. So the index of n is 4. So if you want to count the total number of particular letter in a given string, then you can use the count method, and inside the count method you can just give the desired string value. So that is 1, because A is present only once. For example, here A is there in the word learning only once. And using the method replace, you will be able to replace any word with a given word. For example, you can apply, or you can call that on a string, that is strsample, and inside this method you can just give a string to be searched, that is fun. So we are searching for the word fun in the strsample string, and I am going to replace fun with joyful. So let me just try this. So you are getting learn is joyful instead of getting learn is fun, which was the original string. The next one is, if you want to check whether all the bytes in the sequence are alphabetical ASCII characters or ASCII decimal digits, then you can use the ALNUM method, and it is going to give you a boolean output whether it is true or false. So it returns true if all the bytes in the sequence are alphabetical ASCII characters or ASCII decimal digits, otherwise it is going to return false, because in our string not all the bytes in the sequence are alphabetical ASCII or ASCII decimal digits. So now I am going to show you something called string formatting. So for that example, I am going to create 3 variables, name1 is equal to Geeta, name2 is equal to private, and name3 is equal to limited. Using a method, I am just going to format the output in a way that I want to read the output, or in a way I want to store any value to an object. So format is one of the string formatting methods in Python 3, and which allows multiple substitutions and value formatting, and this method also lets us concatenate elements within a string through positional formatting. And formatters work by putting in one or more replacement fields and placeholders defined by a pair of curly braces like how I have given here. It is called placeholders because we are going to, so the value that we wish to put into the placeholders and concatenate with the strings passed as parameters into the format function. So here name1, name2, name3 are the parameters for the format function. For example, I wanted to basically print it as Geeta private dot limited dot. So what I am giving here is, I have just first basically created some placeholders for few values that I am going to put inside that. So using the format method, I am giving those values that I wish to put inside those placeholders. So name1 will go to the first placeholder, and the name2 will go to the second, and name3 will go to the third one. And I have also given what needs to be there after that particular value. I have given dot, so it is going to be present with a period as well. So for example, the final name would be Geeta private dot limited. So this is how we format the output of any given object, or you can store a particular value to an object using the string formatting. So now these are few examples. So these are few methods that we can call on any string, and if you want to look, or if you want to know more about the methods that you can perform on a string, then the below code will show all the functions that we can use for the particular variable. For example, I have created a variable called name. So if you give dir of name, and I am also giving the print statement outside it, so that I am just going to print out all the values that I am getting from the function dir. So it is going to give you a list of methods and functions that can be applied on the particular variable name. If you see here, we have also used some of the methods, title and replace, all those, swap case, and all those we have already used. And if you want to look for the help on a given data type, for example str, if you want to see what are the functions that you can perform on a string, then you can use help of str. str represents strings, and a string is one of the data type in Python that you can work with. For example, it shows you the documentation on how you can create a string, and as well as what are the methods or what are the functions that you can perform on the string. So this will be very helpful, and it will come in handy whenever you want to explore more on the operations that you can perform on a string. So for example, if you want to specifically look out for any function that can be applied on a string, then you can as well use that with the same command. Instead of just giving help of str, you can just give help of str.find, and find is also one of the methods that can be applied on a string. So that gives you the method descriptor. So basically find is a method, and that gives you a syntax on how to use the find function, and it also gives you what it returns. So this will give you overall idea about what are the functions that you can use, or how to use the function in specific to the requirement. So we will be using some of the methods that can be explicitly called on a given sequential data, or we are also going to look at some of the methods that is common across some of the sequential data. In that case, I need to create those sequential data in order to perform some methods on it. So we've already seen how to create string, list, tuples, sets, dictionary and range in the previous videos. I'm just going to pull out the same examples to execute that so that I can perform some of the methods on it. So let me just run str sample. To recall that, we are creating string sample which just contains the string learning is fun, and we've also created list sample which has values 1 to asam2, and we're also creating an array sample which has values 1 2 3 4 of integer data type, and also tuple which has few values to it, and dictionary as well as sets and range. So we are going to first look at a method called len that is going to return the number of elements in the object, and I've given the accepted object types, that is it can be applied on string, list, array, tuple, dictionary, set or range. So it can be applied on all the sequential data that we've covered in the previous lectures. So now if you can look at here, I'm just using the print statement which describes number of elements in the object. So that is going to be the title of the output, and I am using the string formatting here by I've just given some of the placeholders so that I can put the output inside that. So instead of basically giving, or instead of checking the length of each of the sequential data that we have created, I'm just going to put that in a single cell by using the string formatting method. And what I've given here is, inside the format I've just given len of str sample, which is going to return the total number of elements in that particular string, and similarly for all the sequential data that I have. So let's just print and see. So this is how the output will look like. It basically says the number of elements in the object, and it has strings is equal to 17, and it describes that 17 substrings are there in a string, and there are 5 elements in list and 4 elements in array, 6 elements in tuple and 4 in dictionary and 4 in set and 3 in range. So this gives you an overall idea about how len function works and how it can be applied on any sequential data. So first let me just show you what is there under the list. So I have 1 2 asam2. So if you want to reverse the order of the list, then you can perform a reverse method on a list, and it is going to order the elements in a reverse order. The next is the clear method, which helps us remove all items from the object, and the supported sequence data are list, dictionary and set. So you can perform the clear method only on list, dictionary and set. So let's see an example on how we can use that on a list, dictionary and set. So I am just using clear method and then printing lst sample. So you are getting an empty list since all the items or all the elements from list has been removed. The next one is clearing the items from dictionary sample, and I am also printing the dictionary sample. So you are just getting an empty dictionary since all the items from the dictionary have been removed. The next one is clearing the items from the set sample. So you are just getting an empty set. So this will be helpful when you want to remove all the items from the object in one shot. So now since we have already cleared all the elements from the object, let me just restart my kernel. So let me just rerun this so that I can perform other operations on the sequential data. So now I am coming back to another method that is called append. So now we have seen how to clear the elements from an object, right? Now let's see how to add an element at the object. And there's a method called append that used to add an element at the end of the object. So the supported data types are array, list and set. And you can use this append on any array, list or set. I am just giving the desired value that needs to be appended at the end of an object. So I am just adding 3 to the array sample, and I am just printing the same. Our array contained only the values 1 2 3 4, and now it gets added, and now the new value gets added at the last. So the next thing that I am going to do here is I am going to append some of the values to the existing list sample. So before doing that, let me just print what is there under the list sample. That is 1 2 asam and 2, and I am just going to add a list to the list sample. The new list contains 2, 4. I am just going to append this using the append method. I am also printing that. So if you can see here, this was the original list, and now a new list has been appended to the existing list. The values have not got added as an element, but it has been added as a list itself. The next thing is appending an element to the set sample, but if you do that, it will throw you an error saying attribute error, saying set object has no attribute append. You can't append the value to the existing set that you've created, but you can as well perform the same using the add method. So instead of using append, I have just added the method called add with the same value, that is 20. So let me just print this and see. So the 20 value has been added to the set, and it has been added as a second element since the set doesn't hold any particular order to any of the elements inside it. So it just gets added as a second element. And if you can note here, I have given only a single value because add takes single parameter which needs to be added in the set. It can't take multiple values at a time. So you will be able to add only one value at a time. We've seen how to add an element at the end of the object. The next thing that we are going to see here is the update method. So that is a method that can be used in set, which is going to add elements from a set, because here we are not able to add multiple values at a time. So you can do that as well using the update function. So the update function in a set adds elements from a set which can be passed as an argument to the set, and this method, the update method, takes only single argument, and the argument can be set, tuples or a dictionary. So you can add the values as set, list, tuples or a dictionary, and what it does means it automatically converts into a set and then add that particular list of values or that particular set to the existing sets. So let's just try an example. So I am using the update method on a set, but I am passing the values as a list which has values 5, 10. So now the 5, 10 has been added to the existing set, 5 and 10 has been added, and we also printed the updated set. The next thing that we are going to see here is some of the methods that can be applied on a dictionary, because as we know, dictionary is a container that can hold non-sequential data. We can't perform the same methods on the similar way, can be applied but in a different way. So we are going to look at separately like what are the methods that we can use on a dictionary and how we can apply that. So let me just print what we have it under the sample dictionary, that is this. We have few keys and we also have few values associated with each keys, and if you want to create a new set of key value pairs, for example, I am just creating a new key, that is dict sample of 5, that is 5 is going to be created as a new key, and I am just updating a value as 5 so that a new value will be associated with the key 5. So this is how we update key value pair to the existing dictionary. So now your dictionary gets updated with the latest key value pair, that is 5 in string as well as with the corresponding value 5. And you can as well perform that using the update method, and the argument should be passed on, and the argument should be passed as a dictionary like how we have done it in set, or you can as well give the set of values as list, set, dictionary. So now I am giving the values as dictionary because I am updating a key value pair on a dictionary. So we are updating the dictionary with the key value pairs, that is 5 is equal to 5. So it is just going to do the same thing but in two different ways. Here I have just created a new key value pair by just using the equal to operator, and by creating a new key using the square braces. Here I am just using a method to do the same. But once you created the dictionary, you will be interested in seeing the list of keys that are used in your dictionary or the list of keys that are present in the current dictionary. So if you use the list it is going to give you all the keys from your dictionary. And if you want to basically know the number of items in your dictionary, then you can just use the same len function which we've already used. So basically we have 5 items in our dictionary, and there's also a conventional method to access a value for a given key. So for example, if you know a particular key, then if you just want to access the particular and you just want to access the corresponding value of it, then you can get that using the method called get, and you have to just give in the key of interest. So the value corresponding to the 5 key is the value 5. And if you want to return all the keys in the dictionary, then you can also use the keys method, which is going to give you dic keys, where it just lists down all the keys that are available in your dictionary, which is as similar to what we've got from the list function as well. And if you want to get the list of key value tuple pairs, and then you can get that from the items method, where it is just going to give you each key value pair as a tuple, and it's going to list down all the key value pairs. And this is how we can call some of the methods on a dictionary. The next thing that we are going to see here is the insert method, which will be very helpful when we want to add or when we want to insert the element at the specific index of the object. And it can be supported in the following data types, that is array and a list. So I am just going to use one example on array. So I am just printing what is there in the updated array that we have now. It has 1, 2, 3, 4 and 3. So to basically insert the element at the specified index of an object, then you can use the index method, and inside that you just need to give in 2 arguments. The first argument should be the position to which you want to add a new element, and the second argument should be the element that should be added. So I am inserting an element 100 at the second position to an array, to an existing array, that is array sample, and I am also printing the array sample. So this was the original array 1, 2, 3, 4, 3, but now an element 100 has been added at the second position since the index is 1, and now other values remains the same. So this is how we can add the element at the given index. I am also doing the same thing on a list, just to see how the insert method works on a list. So if you can see here, I am inserting the element 24 at the 5th position, inserting 24 elements at the 5th position. So 5th position is just before the value 2, 4. So this is how we call the insert method on a list, where we can basically specify the index to which we want to add the element. So now we have seen how to insert an element at the given position. So in that case, we should know how to remove the element at the given index. So on that note, pop method is being used to remove the elements at the given index from the object, and as well as it prints the same. So you can use the pop method if you want to remove a particular element from your object, and then if you want to just cross verify whether whatever element that you are removing from the object is actually correct or not. So in that case you can use pop, and if you don't give anything inside the pop method when you are calling that on any object, then it is automatically going to remove the last element from the object. That is, the default value is -1, which returns the last element. And it is supported across array, list, set and dictionary sequential data, and it is supported across array, list, set and dictionary containers. I am just using the pop method on the array sample, which is going to delete the last element and it is going to print the same. If you can recall, the array sample has the set of values where the last value is 3, and when I use the pop function on it, it just returns the value 3 because the value 3 got removed from the array sample. But whereas if you want to remove a particular element, then you can give that inside the pop method. So this is the original list that we have, and if I call the pop method on the list and if I specify the position, that is 4, it is going to remove the fifth element which corresponds to the fourth index, which is nothing but the element 2. So, you will be sure that for the given index, what is the value that gets removed. So, that is one advantage of using the pop method. The next thing is I am trying to remove a key called second from the dictionary sample. So, before removing that, I have printed what is there under the dictionary sample. So, I have a key called second. So, I am going to use that as the argument inside the pop method, so that it is going to remove the value 2 corresponding to the key second. Similarly, you can give the key 3, so that the value corresponding to the key 3 will also get removed. This can be useful whenever you are basically dealing with any data cleaning, and then if you want to if you are very particular in about what you are going to remove, then in that case you can use the pop method. But one thing to note here is the pop method is not usually used on a set, because we know that set is in an ordered sequence, and hence it is not going to remove any elements or any items from the set or with any given index. So, we can't perform that on a set. And there is one more way where you can remove the elements or remove the items from the given object, that is using remove method. And remove method removes the first occurrence of the element with the specified value. So, if you have multiple occurrence of the particular element, then it is going to remove only the first occurrence of it. So, it can be supported across the data type called array, list, dictionary and set. So, the first example is on a dictionary. So, the array sample has 100, 2, 3, 4 as values. I am going to use the remove method on the array, and I have given the value as 3. It says value error because I have given a value which is not in the range at all, because it does not have a value called 0. So, it is going to give me a value error. But if you give a value which is already there in the array, then it is going to remove that particular element from the existing array. Now, the value 2 gets removed from the array sample. Similarly, you can as well perform that on a list. So, this was the original list that we had. So, I have printed it before, and then I am removing SAM from the existing list LST sample. So, and then I am just printing the LST sample, and if you can see the output, the SAM element has been removed from the existing list. Next, I am just trying to remove a value called 57 from the set sample, and it gives an error saying key error 57. So, the 57 is not one of the values of the set sample. So, it is giving the error saying key error 57. But if you want to remove a particular element, but if you are not sure whether that is contained in the set or not, but you just want to remove it, then you can use the discard method, where the set remains unchanged if the element passed to discard method does not exist. For example, the set sample does not contain any element called 57, right, but I am using discard function here. So, it is not going to give me a key error saying it is not part of the set sample. It is just going to remain as it is, deleting nothing, removing nothing from the existing sample. So, this is how we can remove an element or remove an item from the object using the remove method. For example, if you want to delete the entire object of any data type, then you can use the del method, and the syntax to be used is del and followed by the object name. So, here I am just deleting the set sample using the del keyword. When you print it, it is going to give you an error saying name error, where name set sample is not defined, because I have already deleted the entire object from the set sample. So, that is why I am getting this error. This can be applied on any data. So, I am just applying that on an array, similarly on a list, but you can as well delete a particular element from the list by giving the index, But since I've already deleted all the values, it is just going to give me an error saying it is not defined. And you can as well perform, or you can as well delete the sequence of elements by giving the sequence of index. Here I am trying to remove the element that corresponds to the index 1 to 3. This is how we give. But if you want to remove all the elements from the list, then as well as like you can do that like how we access all the elements from the list, that is using the colon operator inside the square brackets. So if you do this, all the elements from your list will get deleted. And this is an example on how to delete the object dictionary. So this is how we perform del operator on any object. So we are going to look at another method called extend, which is a method that adds to specified list elements. It need not be of only list elements, it can be any iterable. For example, it can be set, tuple and etc. And it is going to add the specified list of elements at the end of the current list. For example, I am just going to use this extend method on an array sample, on the array sample. I am going to pass the values as a tuple. Why I am saying it as a tuple? Because I am just enclosing all the values inside the parenthesis. So it's just going to add a new tuple to the existing array. The existing array was only till 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 4, 5, 3, 5, and the set of values as tuple have been added at the end of the current array. If you are trying to give a string value, it is going to throw you an error saying type error, because an integer is required and it should match with the item code of the array. So here I am just going to add values from a list to an array. So I have a method called from list, so that you can just give a sequence of values 3, 4, and if you are calling that on an array, then you are going to add the values from the list to an existing array. So this will be the output. So I've added 3, 4 as one of the elements of the array. Array sample is of type array, right? And if you want to convert an array into an ordinary list with the same items that is already there in array, then you can use the toList method on the array. Just converts the array to list. So if you see here, the output was enclosed inside the array function, but now all the values are enclosed inside the square brackets. Next, we are going to look at some of the operations that can be performed on set. And as we know that a set is an unordered collection of items, so every element is unique inside a set. So we can create a set if you want to have, or if you want to store values which are of only unique, or if you can just convert any object to a set if you want to fetch, or if you want to have only the unique elements inside it. And the sets can be used to perform some of the mathematical set operations like union, intersection, symmetric difference, etc. So let me just take you through an example on each of these. So I have a set called A, which has some values, example 2487.5 data, 24 data, as the previous set which we already have. I've just renamed it as A. And if you can say, I have two 24s here, but it has only 124 when I printed it out. So it is just going to give you the unique values, but it can contain a set of mixed data type. And I have another set called B, which is like a subset from A. So I have two sets now, A and B. So let me just take you through an example how you can perform the union operation using these two sets. I am just using A or B operation. So which is to check the union of A and B, and it is going to return a set of all elements from both the sets. And you can either perform it using the union operation as well. You can just use A dot union of B. That is also going to return all the elements from both the sets. So if you can see here, it has all the values from A and as well as B, but it is just going to return only once, even if it is repeating in A and B. The next thing is checking the intersection of A and B, which is going to return a set of elements that are common in both the sets. And you can perform that by placing the AND operator inside two sets, or you can use the operation intersection, that is A dot intersection of B, and that returns only the common elements across both the sets A and B. So these are some of the mathematical set operations that we can perform on the set that we have created. So now we have come to the end of the script. In this lecture, we have seen some of the methods that we can call on a sequential data as well as a non-sequential data, and we have also seen few examples on how it works on each sequential data, and we have also seen how it works on a non-sequential data as well. Thank you.